Don't you find it fascinating how every single time there is an election, the government is very concerned about people talking to each other without supervision? And this is happening in the United States as well. Of course, they don't say that the government is cracking down on people talking to each other. It's social media has terms of service that don't allow you to talk about certain things that are completely legal to discuss. Like, for example, they censored the Hunter Biden laptop story. There are certain people which can't talk about the previous election, though you can talk about any other election in human history, not the previous one. Even though it's legal to talk about it, you will notice that the same terms of service apply on almost every single major social media. And the Twitter files did show that the government was putting pressure amongst with other NGOs, other academics, journalists, in order for social media to stifle this type of conversation, because otherwise the advertisers would pull out. So that's the way it's being done in America. That is the progressive way. The more regressive way is when you're in a country like Turkey, which doesn't have access to the people running these websites. Then you can just tell them, yeah, you're going to censor the things we don't like, or we're going to shut you down. So now Elon Musk was placed in a difficult position where he had to either say, no more Twitter in Turkey, or, okay, well, we're going to censor what you want. But the thing is, now he is getting flack for this. Because if you guys remember, when he first obtained Twitter, Germany said, oh, well, we want you to ban the Nazis on Twitter. Well, who are the Nazis? Whoever we say they are. And Elon Musk told them to fuck off. The European Union is now passing legislation in order to compel social media websites to ban whatever they want. But until then, Elon Musk refused to ban anything from the request of the European Union. However, he does ban things on the request on Turkey. And the reason is quite simple. Turkey is not as democratic as the United States. So if they just want to flat out ban Twitter, they can do it immediately. The European Union has a much harder time doing that. It's a slow process. It might take years, if not decades, until they do it. And even then, it could be a very unpopular decision because Twitter is used in certain countries more than other social media platforms. So this is probably what Elon Musk is banking on. They're looking at the European Union and he's saying, well, you can't do shit. And then he's looking at Turkey and saying, well, actually, Turkey can do something. So, yeah. And it's interesting because he's getting pressured from people like Matthew Iglesias saying that the Turkish government asked Twitter to censor its opponents right before an election. Elon Musk complied, and it should generate some interesting Twitter files reporting. To which Elon Musk responds, did your brain fall out of your head, Iglesias? This is the only time I've seen Elon Musk being so aggressive towards someone. The choice is have Twitter throttle in its entirety or limit access to some tweets. Which do you want? So you have people on the side of Elon Musk saying that Matty wants you to do nothing and in return Turkish people have zero access to Twitter when the government censored in response. Real galaxy brain stuff. Turkey isn't the United States, right? So now Matthew is like, oh, well, I just want the Twitter files. I just want the Twitter files. We could post what the government in Turkey sent us, will do. So basically Elon Musk is going to say that he is actually going to post what the request of the Turkish government has said. I don't know, it's up to people to judge whether or not Elon Musk did anything wrong. It is very interesting because I think it was Uganda, right? Like Uganda had a very interesting election where Twitter at the time, which wasn't ran by Elon Musk, decided to suspend the account of the Ugandan president for TOS violation. And the Ugandan president went like, okay, well, then I'm going to suspend Twitter from my country. And he literally banned Twitter from Uganda. To which Joe Biden, incredibly concerned about the state of democracy in Uganda, was like, oh, no, it's not okay. How dare you ban? I wonder if Joe Biden would step out and tell the Sultan from Turkey, like, we are concerned about the democracy in Turkey. What do you mean you shut down a social media website? It's not going to happen. Like, we all know that's not the case. But I find it interesting, you know, like, before every election, like the Brazilian election, for example, you had a war room in Facebook talking about how they're going to make sure that there is no election interference and no misinformation. And they were very worried because WhatsApp at the time, you know, they purchased it, but like apparently they didn't know how to decrypt it. They didn't know how to read people's messages, and they were very freaked out by it. Like, people are communicating in a place where we don't know. Oh! So how can we censor what we can't see? Like, they were really uncomfortable over the fact that adults are talking with each other outside of the influence of Facebook. But, you know, like, recently it also came out with Zuckerberg. Like, Elon Musk is accusing Zuckerberg of being a Democrat operative and stuff. Like, it doesn't really surprise me. But what I'm trying to say is that notice all of this hysteria before an election, right? Like, all of a sudden, we have to protect people from themselves. We have to be there and be the nanny of people who talk to each other. But when you want to make a bank loan for a student debt to become the lesbian dance master guru, and get a PhD, which probably costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, there is no fact checker there. Like, there is no one like, hey, you know, like a little bit of misinformation. Let's add context to that. You know, out of the 100% of students that go to this university, only 0.5% find jobs. None of them happen to be a straight, white, cisgender man like you. So maybe you should consider a different vocational path. You don't get that, right? When you want to buy a car, like a second-hand car, and someone goes like, hey, you should buy this model because it's really great. You don't get context saying, hey, you know, like, for this price that you're being offered, there's other cars that are much more of a bargain. Like, when it's actual shit that would genuinely help your life, no one talks about, hey, let's add some context. Let's add some information. Let's bring some fact checker. No, like, that's fine. My point is the following. If social media is so dangerous, right? Like, if it's literally that dangerous, why don't they shut it down before an election? You shut it down like 3 months before an election and 3 months after. Interesting how that doesn't happen, right? Like, this is my favorite thing, especially when you hear people from Facebook and people from Google, and they're like, oh my God, the election is coming, and we are so worried about the harmful misinformation that threatens our democracy. It's like, okay, well, if it's so harmful and it threatens your democracy, why don't you take down the website for 3 months? I mean, it's what is more important? Your profit margin or your democracy? Well, I guess your profit margin is more important, and that gets to tell a lot. But yeah, so I find it absolutely hilarious. I do expect like Erdogan to win in Turkey. I do think that the only reason he is cutting it close right now is due to the inflation that he caused with the lira. A lot of Turkish people do not appreciate that, the economics. But other than that, yeah, no, like Turkish people don't really seem to mind that much about Twitter and other things. But it is interesting. But what's interesting is that only Elon Musk is under the gun, right? Like, I'm curious about all the other social media websites. Do you not think that the Sultan has asked Zuckerberg and other owners of social media to also censor? We'll see. Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.